Homegrown Radio.
If you have just joined us, you are on Homegrown Radio. This is the Happy Club, the show where we share knowledge and tools on mental health and overall wellness and empower you on your journey to living your happier life. Because what we believe is that there's no other place to be but happiness, And these sessions, I never travel alone. I'm your girl, Anele Kunene, with our personal homegrown wellness coach, Satram Blair.
Hello.
There is that voice. I always say it gets me every time. But before we actually went our separate ways, we're talking change.
Yes.
And you'd said something so important, so vital, something that's actually affected a lot of people in South Africa, within organizations and, losing jobs, retrenchments, and that kind of change. But you were still on platform before we went off.
Yes, what I was going to say is that it helps to plan effectively because when you plan, it saves you time and it allows you to be efficient in knowing exactly what is the next step which you need to take for organizations, of course. And secondly, it allows you to be able to train your staff because now you've done the effective planning. We're talking about change whereby retrenchment has taken place.
Okay.
Then you're planning now, way forward, how we're going to be operating within the organization.
Yes.
Then train your staff to the new changes.
So you
introduce them to the new changes so that they can adapt, become flexible, and begin slowly to feel that they belong and they can align with the change. It's very important because not everybody is going to. And thirdly, implement what works out of the planning and the training. Because everything is a baby step. It doesn't mean because you're introducing this change, everything is going to be working. You're testing.
What works, what will not
works
work.
best for all of us within the company. And fourthly, of course, you have to control. When you know how to control.
That word.
So control, it brings us to your next question. Because with different people coming from different backgrounds, we go to work, we've got different loads
that we're carrying.
Absolutely. Then our emotions becomes affected because of change, because of the situations at home. We all have different situations, which now we have to adapt to and live with.
And we all do adapt. I feel like we all do adapt differently to situations. We'll not accept it the same way. And my ability as an individual, as a part of an organization, to adapt, perform, bring what I usually bring, it's also dependent on the way it comes across to me.
And your readiness as well.
And my readiness to actually accept it and be able to actually implement and adapt.
And how you process the information, because sometimes you can be resistant towards change. So it's kind of like it's a different weight for everybody.
So it would become, so you'd say, like, if I'm understanding, it would become something that is sort of a shock to the system. Maybe you take it on as like now a trauma to you. It shakes you up. Now there's this emotional imbalance that's now happening that I have to deal with outside of the physical change. It now becomes internal as well, that I have to also deal with it on that level. I really would like us to just touch on, emotional change that may occur after a big event.
So emotional change would present you with symptoms of withdrawals. You would dread to wake up and go in the morning and go to work and face the new people that you are now being placed under, that you have to report to, and be placed in a different department whereby you lack the skills, but you've been told and they've given you assurance that we're going to train you. Trust us, trust the process. However, you know that I'm good when it comes to, for an example, we can talk about school kids. I'm good when it comes to science, physics, and math. But other children, they're good when it comes to history, geography, and economics. So that's what I'm trying to relate to, because this very same change, it goes back to even the kids, the school kids. But we're talking about the adults. So it affects you because you know your capabilities as well. However, you're being pushed, you're being managed, you've been monitored, controlled, and maintained through the resources which have been provided to you. So you have to make your ultimate best
out of what you are given.
Out of what you're given.
Which is
because now
easy,
it can also bring and end up making you to rest in a bed of anxiety and depression.
Yes.
But once
that's
again, that's when organization should always be ready and have a wellness program whereby when you suffer through that, there is
support.
Absolutely.
You've got that
always
consistent
important.
Support. You should know actually rather.
Yeah.
You should know that you're in a safe space. I always like to use that word of saying it's a safe space.
Yeah.
No matter what you're going through, no matter how you deal with it, even on the days when you feel like you cannot show up, do show up. We are here to support you
and tell somebody
what
how you
can.
feel. And because of this change, it's good to have a sheet actually, which from time to time on a monthly basis, as employees, they should fill it up, whereby it's got different questions which ask you, how are you feeling? It's very important because it's all good and well to have a wellness platform within the organization. And sometimes you're a very introvert person.
Yeah.
You don't want other people to know about your personal life, about what you're suffering, about the pains and wounds that you're going through, which are now ultimately affecting your productivity. So how are we going to pick it up? For an example, healthcare practitioners, how are they going to pick it up, or the organization, how are they going to pick it up if there's no form of structure whereby, or a sheet, whereby you have to fill it in all the time, once a month, so that, of course, because you can see the variables, you can see the consistencies, you can see the similarities, and you can start picking up the signs and the symptoms as a healthcare practitioner. That's when you're able to say this particular individual needs assistance. So it's a different mechanism for different organizations, but we all need to ensure that we give full support. Full support is not only there's a wellness platform, because some people, they won't just voice out, pick up the phone, even if we've given them, they have information which says reach out, because they may be timid and embarrassed, to go to the HR manager and say, I need help. Because before you phone them, you need to go through the HR manager. But for some companies, you can literally just pick up the phone and phone them and make an appointment, because everything is confidential and discreet. And then from there, of course, everything just gets billed to the company.
I absolutely like how you covered that, because I feel like as you're speaking about an organization, you can actually directly, feel it. And when we talk organization, I mean, it's an organization on any level. It's not a particular, because it's a workspace. I mean, a school is an organization. Shopping center is an organization in its own way, and there's certain things that we went through the change, and having the ability to be able to this has changed. It used to work like this. Is there somewhere where I can phone? Is there a line that I can phone as a client, as a customer, and to deal with the change, not necessarily as a person who works in the space? Because that change, I would feel, directly affects me as well.
Absolutely. I like what one of my colleagues, she's doing. She's a social worker. So what she'd done, obviously, she went to school, put up the proposal and said, okay, this is me. I would like to give the kids some support to be able to help them identify the signs and the symptoms of what's dysfunctional in their lives, so that I can help to alert the parents and, of course, the teachers as well. So what she does, she sees them every day. So it's different kids for different hours. Then she's able to see where the kids are lacking, and then able to put a report together and forward it, send it to the parents, so that the parents can work together with the teachers, because sometimes the kids, they also have their own resistance. But unfortunately, we're all busy concentrating on ourselves as adults. We're forgetting about them, because the change which affects the adults hugely has an impact on the young ones.
I've actually picked that up in the space where where I work. So dealing with kids, and how they've actually had to adapt and change, and rules that were there that have now been put in that were not there before, and then coming back now into this space. It has been very difficult, and even to monitor it has been extremely difficult. And I don't think parents know that some of them don't make it very easy.
So true.
Some of them don't make it very easy. But I honestly feel like we never have enough time to, talk about these things, because change is one thing that is consistent.
It is, and
But what I always ask you before we go, 3 things that you would professionally say to someone who's listening right now on dealing and coping with change, and just being happier on their way to their happier life.
I would say, remember that anything that has to do with change, it brings you, as we started in the beginning, it brings you painful experiences, and it also brings you beautiful experiences. At the end of the day, it brings you both. So this is what change does. Once you now have began the journey of working with change, it releases your anxiety and your depression level. And at the same time, it brings new opportunities. It refreshes your attitude, and it gives you complete control. And most of all, it gives you emotional freedom.
I like that. Complete control, emotional freedom. Oh, yeah.
And right in the deep of the strong wave, that's when we find a new direction to change. Because in that deep of strong wave, literally you get thrown up anyway. And that's where you find the answer to your new direction. And what's important is to always ensure that you don't work against the new direction. Rather, accept the situation and say, okay, what do I need to do to equip myself to be able to move forward? Because when you work against it, that's when a whole lot of clusters start building up and coming in.
You know what you've just said actually reminds me of one of my favorite quotes, how does it go again? Ish, let me think about it. But I genuinely, if when things go south, don't go with them.
Yes.
When things go bad, do not go with them. You can always come back.
Absolutely.
See opportunity in everything that you do, because everything is an opportunity for you to change, for you to grow in a new space that you may have never discovered ever in your life. And that is one thing about the journey of happiness, is always being able to adapt, always being able to find yourself and make something your own. So change is consistent. Own it, love it, be it, fulfill it, and live your dreams.
This is my favorite quote I'd like to share.
Please do.
If we remain where we are, we'll never become what we want. So in life, you definitely need change.
I like that.
I like it as well.
Change is the only thing that is clearly consistent that can bring greatness to your life. I'm your girl, Anele Kunene, host of The Happy Club, and I'm definitely not alone. I'm with our personal professional wellness coach, Satram Blair. We talked change today.
Yes.
I thought it was good.
I loved it.
I hope
Embrace it. It's like the current of the ocean.
Yes.
Don't work against it. Work with it. It simplifies the process.
I hope you took away as much as I did. This is The Happy Club on Homegrown Radio, sending you love, sending you light all the time. Mwah.